a real person. Okay. I'm like, yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
How
Oh,
is
there
it over
I go.
there?
I
There we
added the
go.
video. Okay. How are you?
Oh, yeah, bright and early morning, which is why I've got this interesting lighting. It'll lighten as we talk because it's, yeah, 10 past 6 in the morning.
I was gonna say you are a trooper, an absolute trooper. So yeah, this is gonna be really fun. You're gonna have to send this to me
Oh God,
because it will
that's
be saved to your TikTok.
it's too much technology. It's too much technology.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, I tell you what, give me 1 second because I think I can.
Take over.
It's okay. I got it sorted. I'll get it my end now. Yeah. So, I mean, you've been writing this book. How long have you been writing? What's the title of it? I've never actually seen the title.
It's gone through a few iterations, but currently it's Akladama, The Afterglow of Dawn.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's a weird one. Basically, I wasn't much of a reader, wasn't much of a writer, anything. But suddenly when I was 15, I had this one starting line in my head, and so I just wrote like, I think about 15,000 words back then. Literally, I kid you not, stopped mid-sentence, put it down, didn't look at it for years. And then my mate from high school, who had read it at the time, was like, "Oh, you should really pick that back up again." And this was a couple years ago, yeah. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, like, why? I'm not really like I read more now, but like, she's like, just read it." Anyway, I started reading again, and then it didn't stop from there. I just kept writing, basically. So yeah, it was kind of a weird one to fall into,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay. And so, tell me, like, where did you get the inspiration from the book from?
Um, okay, well, the very first line just, which is every family has their secrets, as I say, just popped into my head one day. Had no clue where it came from. After that, it's got elements of like Alice in Wonderland, Lord of the Rings, Narnia, those stories I've grown up on. Um, but other than that, it's more kind of like the inspiration comes more as like a sort of like a diary in a way, but like of like this fantasy world effectively. So it helps me to sort through all my own stuff, but like at the same time they're doing it, whilst uh, running around this fantasy world that doesn't exist. But there's some characters, like most characters I actually have to think about. There's one character, Safi, who you duetted in that. Like we've got the duet together. I swear to God, I was sitting here working, and I'm an accountant by trade, so I was sitting here working one day, just that, and I looked over and I went, "Oh my God, who are you?" Like, just randomly one day, and she hasn't left. It's weird, but hey, yeah. So,
Okay, and how have you completely written the whole thing yet, or is it still in progress, or
book one is done. I'm trying to figure
series?
out
I
if
love it.
I'm gonna go with traditional versus what's the word? Self-publishing. Um, and then, well, book one turned into two books now, basically. So it was just one, it's now two. So the first part, which is book one, is done. Book two is currently being reworked, and then there will be more than that. There will be a book three and potentially book four. So yeah,
Okay, and
quite a
who's your
bit.
favorite character in it?
Well, my main character, Thana's probably going to be the most like me, and so in many ways, she's my kindred spirit because I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like we deal with it the same way. But I'm not gonna lie, every time, as I say, Safi turns up, it's very much like, oh my God, yes, yes, and she only turns up halfway through book two, so I've taken a while to get there, but I just got there through edits yesterday, and I was just like, yes. So yeah.
Okay. And so what's the general like premise of the story?
Okay, so basically, two sisters um, travel to this world. So basically, their parents have this little wooden door at the back of their walk-in closet. And one day, these men enter the house and they're trying to get out, but their dog Nix runs up to try and defend them. So naturally, they won't leave their dog. They race after him, and they get backed into this walk-in robe. And for the first time in all these years after they've tried to open the door, it suddenly flies open, and they're transported to the world of Aquadama. Now, they grew up on stories of this because their mother would, tell them all these stories, which is why they became so fascinated with the door. But as they're traveling through, they realize it's much darker than they ever thought it was. It's, you know, it's not the world of like fairy tales and happy endings that they thought. It's very much, there's a lot of problems, like political problems within this world. They're trying, and basically they're trying to make it back, but Dana doesn't necessarily want to come back. She doesn't like the real world, but she is determined to get her sister and her sister's boyfriend Dalton, who came through with them purely by accident, back because he knows that it's not safe for them, but she kind of doesn't want to go back. So there's a bit of conflict there, but they get separated purely because they look very much like the two sisters who used to rule, and one of them went very, very evil, which is the one who looks like Thana. And yeah, so it creates a lot of tension with the other characters in this world, and so they're constantly trying to dodge a whole lot of problems. That's where it's up to now. But yeah, there's a final confrontation and everything with the queen, the ruler, who is not exactly who we think she is. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Cool. So, what other books would you like say that it sort of has similarities to? Obviously not the same, but
Yeah.
if somebody say, "Oh, what's the most similar book?" Do you have a few?
Yeah, so I definitely think the first two that will come to mind will be Narnia and Alice in Wonderland because it's definitely got heavy, heavy elements of both of those. Like,
I was thinking of Narnia with the door
yeah,
instantly.
yeah, it's very much got like those. It's kind of like a darker Narnia, if you will. Like, I don't know, Narnia got pretty dark at times, but like it gets darker. Other than that, I'm just thinking there is one other, but for some reason, the top of my head, it's not coming to me, and I'm trying to look around to figure out where it is. But it's very much got vibes like I'm just trying to think. Lost it. But it's got vibes like what is that series? It's right behind me, Caraval. There we go.
Oh yes! Oh my god, I love
Yeah.
Caraval.
So it's kind of like this weird and wonderful world. Like obviously Caraval, it's sort of that same element of it's this weird and wonderful world that you don't quite know what's right, what's the story, and like there's constantly this story of like the gods, these beings, and you can't. It keeps kind of changing, but it's not changing in the whole like its entirety. It's just that different peoples, different cultures have different versions of it, and so as you're going along, you're trying to figure out the truth of it, and it's kind of driving everyone nuts a little bit. In that way, kind of like with Legend, where you're trying to figure out who Legend is, and it's all this diverting and all the rest. And then there was another one, oh, a little bit of Cruel Prince as well, like definitely with the
I was
sort of
looking at that behind you on the
oh yeah,
shelf, thinking, "Oh yeah, it kind of sounds a little bit like that."
yeah, yeah, Cruel
But
Prince as well.
yeah, I was just thinking of Caraval earlier and how much it
Oh yeah,
reminds me of Alice in Wonderland.
yeah,
Um, and like, kind of with a Terry Pratchett influence. I don't know if you ever read any of the Terry Pratchett Discworld book.
just a little.
Like, I mean, I think that's why I loved things like Caraval.
Yeah.
so much because like I loved Alice in Wonderland as a kid. I read Terry Pratchett like in more recent years, but not all of them. So yeah, like you can count me in for reading your book.
Oh, thank
Definitely.
you,
If it's
thank
got,
you.
Caraval vibes, Alice in Wonderland, Narnia, yes, I'm in.
I'm definitely getting to the stage where I'm like starting to be like, okay, maybe I should actually get people to read this, like apart from my best friend from high school, because she has read it and she just keeps abusing me to keep writing it. I'm like, I have a full-time job, okay? Just, but yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, writing and having a job. Yeah. But yeah,
Mm,
I think that would be one of the things where like the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing, because at least traditional publishing it takes a lot of pressure off the writer,
yeah.
um, because at least they know what they're doing, and you just have to like say yes, no. I mean, there's more to it, I'm sure. I don't know,
There
but I can tell
probably
you for a
is.
fact, self-publishing is stressful.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Um, yeah, it's. I'm very much of like the I just want people to know about the characters, so then we can just have discussions about the characters. Like, it's not necessarily like I mean, I don't think anyone ever truly goes into writing just because they want to make money, because it's not the industry for that. But um, I'm just like, I just want people to know, so then I can say, oh my God, this character did this, and just have someone know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah,
like I said, following your characters, I feel I know your book already, even though I don't know the story. It's like I know your characters, and that
yeah,
makes me like want to read the story so much. And I hope it wants to make others read the story too, because
yeah.
it sounds amazing, but just from like the videos of your characters, it looks so good.
Well, yeah, it's that's a funny one because I can only do so many characters because I've tried to have a very diverse cast, if you will, um, but I can only play because I only look a certain way. So many characters, so I'm like, this is a very narrow vision of who's involved in this book. There's so many different characters, abilities, different genders, sexualities, all that sort of jazz. Because it's trying to be a book for everyone in a way. That sounds a little bit
Mm.
cliche, but yeah, just trying to actually have a proper view of society, especially because Australia is very much a multicultural nation. We're not, we have our culture if you count, wearing thongs and going to the beach, but uh, we have such a blend of cultures that, especially here, it's very prevalent just how many different types of people there are. So I've tried to do that in the book, but I only look I look how I look, so I can only do probably those 5 characters that you see pop up.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit the same in that I'm limited because of spoilers. Like if I do the characters I want to do, it would spoil things, and I'm like, no, not doing it, not doing it. Like I've saved sounds and videos for future, like when the books are out, and it's like it'll have a warning spoilers, but at least some people would have read it, so they'll know. But yeah, for me, it's spoilers.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely. Oh, hi Harley. Oh Haley, sorry, I can't read from here. Hi Haley. She's just saying how are you? We're good. We're just talking about writing. Yeah,
that's
no, I totally
very
get what
chill.
you mean. Like, as I say, Sappy only turns up at the halfway through book 2, and I'm just like, technically, I should have just let her lie, but she just doesn't like to stay in the background. She's very much a side character who steals the show.
Yeah, I think they're my favorite characters
Yeah.
because like some of the books I've read, some of the characters have just come across as so much fun. I'm like, this should have been the main character, or they should have made that personality the main character, but I think it just makes that character more meaningful because
Yeah.
obviously the main character always has to be the main character, but if you make your other characters more meaningful, then you don't like as a reader you don't forget them.
Yeah, yeah, that's just it. She's definitely. I mean, there's a few like that. My as I say, my friend who's read the book, she has a list of people I'm not allowed to kill. She's told me. I'm like, I will do what I want, and she's like, no, no, hold up. No. I said, but you add everyone to that list. And she's like, that's the point. Like, you're not allowed to touch anyone. Like, that kind of defeats the purpose here. Like, we've got to have, different things happening here. She's like, no, 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 no. But just, this is the list. You're not allowed to kill these people. I'm like, okay. So then I'll create a new character. And then she'll be like, no, you're not allowed to kill them. I'm like, okay. It's a dark
So
world. There is
nobody's gonna
death.
die.
Like, I have to. She's like, no, you can't touch them, you can't touch them. She's still very mad at me about the ending, but she'll get over it eventually, I hope. Um, but yeah. But you have your book coming out soon, as I've seen,
Yeah.
Piper's Library.
Yes, the arc's going out in a week.
Oh my god. I haven't signed up for the art because I'm actually going to buy this one, as opposed to stealing it. Just being like, yeah, I'll be an art reader.
Well, it gets it out there. That's the whole point.
Yeah, I know,
But
but
yeah, I mean,
I
this is. Sorry, you
sorry,
go.
no, you go. You go.
This is why I've been cosplaying my main character Zelenka too. And when I saw your video, I thought that's exactly the kind of thing Zelenka would say. Like, she's not important. Who cares about her?
Yeah, I
I think it
know.
was from Doctor Who, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
recognise the voice. Yeah, and like, but I mean, Zelenka's like 1,000 years old, and so
Oh,
she's like, yeah, I've never met anybody important. Whereas, obviously your character would be like, you've never met anybody who isn't important. But I
oh,
think,
yeah. I think, yeah,
Zelenka does change throughout the book. So,
oh, definitely. I think Safi, she's very much, because she's older in the sense that so she's a half breed, if you will, because so she's half Fae, half shifter. So she, you're like,
sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she is very unique in this, even in this world, right? So she's often had both sides of her lineage be like, nah, not touching that with a 10-foot pole, like, go away, please. But despite that, she's moved up and she's become the general and everything. Um, and so she's not, she's probably only in mid 40s or so. Um, like, so in terms of like, age, she is still really young, but because she's always been kind of pushed to the side in the sense that people are like, oh, I'm not dealing with like some half breed, like, go away, please. She then sees she's very much that, like, okay, I see you, you're very important, like, you are not worthless, like, so that's why she's got that very strong sense of like, um, you know, how can I build others up? How can I protect them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So, but
I think
she's also
myself is
incredible.
the opposite.
Well, that's just it. I say that, and then Sahu does certain things that you're like, that's morally grey, barely. That's like bordering on like wrong side of morally grey. It's like she has her reasons. She does it for a reason. Like, she's not just a bitch for no reason. But yeah. Anyway, but yeah.
So what kind of things are you like? What kind of time frame are you looking at to decide whether you're going to self-publish it or traditionally publish it?
I well, I just finished, and touch wood, hopefully I pass my last exam for my postgrad. So I'm not gonna lie, that's been the focus. Like, I've just been kind of in that. So I have reached out to um, like agents and traditional publishers, and yes, I've mainly gotten a nah, it's not quite there. With a few like, I like it, it's got a good, base, but we need to take it to the next level. But I reckon I want to get not so much the story written, because obviously, you will have like it's going to span over several books, so it's going to take a long time to write. But I want to get at least the main full storyline. Like, I know where I want it to end, and I kind of know what I want to do in between, but like the in between's what's not there yet. So I've got to figure out how I'm going to get from where I am to there. So once I kind of have that mapped out, then I'd be more willing to be like, okay, I can self-publish now, sort of thing. Because I know I have a clear vision of where it's going to fit in. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes exactly complete sense, because I have done that too, and then I put it on the back burner because it spanned five books.
Wow.
And like, I think 700,000 words.
Damn.
And it still needs revising. So I was like, no, this is a big project. Let's focus on a couple of little ones to get me started, and then we'll come back to this. But it is on my mind all the time, even though I haven't touched it for like 2 years now. I've made notes on it, and for future reference, so when I do come back to it, I know what I want to do. But like I said, it's 5 books plus a spin-off.
Wow.
Plus a trilogy. So I'm like, I'm gonna need more time to deal with that one.
That kind of sounds like Akudama. Suddenly I've got a spin-off, and I'm like, oh no. But like, if I don't write that spin-off, I'll be very upset with myself, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's fine, we can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think big projects are daunting. Like, I really wanted to publish that first, but I was like, no, I can't. Like, I can't do it now. My brain just cannot cope. So I was like, okay, let's just pause that, focus on a couple of smaller projects first, get them out there, and then come back to it with a bit more like confidence as a published author, knowing that it's worth doing. Also, I don't have the mental capacity for half the books I am writing, let alone half the books that are in my head. So do you have any other projects planned for the future?
Oh no, definitely. I do. There is another one which, again, I am very much a I have an idea and I just kind of write till I stop sort of person. So I have another one which is probably a little bit more true fantasy, if you will. Like, as in, both a fantasy, obviously, but as in, this one starts in an actual fantasy world. It's not like transporting there. So it's like, what is it? High fantasy, I think they call it.
Yeah.
So it's more that side. But then I am kind of like, I could do something very similar, or not similar, but in the same ilk as what Sarah J. Maas is doing with like the multivert, like everyone kind of coming together, because it feeds very well into Akudama. And I'm like, but also, do I want to do that? Because that's going to make it like a whole other big massive project as opposed to just one. But I will admit, I wrote that and then I kind of went like, the characters aren't ready yet, and put it down. And then, as I say, the Akudama world consumes my life, and I'm like, oh, we could do this, we could do that. I'll be at work talking about debits and credits, and then suddenly be like, oh, and like I got my notebook, I flip to the end and start writing down little notes. But yeah. What about you? Have you got anything other than the Viper's Library?
I have 23 projects.
Shit. Okay.
To be fair, I started writing like properly over 8 years ago. So I've got a backlog. I mean, they're in various stages of like, a really good plan, partial chapters. Some have got a rough draft, and some, like the Viper's Library, it's actually a trilogy.
Oh
So
yeah.
book one is done, book two is mostly done, and book three is all planned, and the structure and everything. So yeah, and I've got a few others. I do actually have plans for a book two of Out of Ashes with one
Mm.
of the characters. She shows up in the middle. She doesn't really get much attention,
Yeah.
so she's gonna have um, uh, another book, and it's gonna be a proper romance, and so the tone is gonna be the same as Out of Ashes.
Oh yeah.
Um, and like similar things going on because of the world and the kind of the witches and the characters and the warlocks obviously have like a different like story, and it's going to be a proper romance. And then I have another plan for another one with the daughter that was in the little girl in Out of Ashes. She's going to
Oh
be a
yeah.
grown woman, and
Oh.
she cannot. I can't. I don't know if I should say it without spoiling a bit, because like she can't forgive somebody for doing something that somebody should have done, that had every right to do.
I think I know.
But because she's so little, she struggles to forgive,
Yeah.
like, and understand what the real situation was at the time. And so she's an adult coming to terms with what actually happened
Mm.
to her, to her family and to somebody she thought she could trust. And
Yeah.
then the other one, like, there's this crazy girl in the middle of book one. She's gonna get a book two, so we're gonna have Out of Ashes, Out of Shadows, and
Oh
Out
wow.
of Storms. I know.
Ooh.
I love having matching names.
Yeah. Yeah, me
I
too.
just love it. I don't care if it's cliche. I love it.
Oh no, I'm definitely the
So
same. Like the first title of Akkodama was definitely um, Akkodama, the Song of Shadow and Starlight, because then the next one was going to be the Song of I think Ice and Gold. But then I was like, I don't know, it's not fitting anymore. This what is now the first book. Like it fit the overall like first two books, but it doesn't fit what is the first book now. I'm like, oh, how do I keep this train going with like the similar names now?
yeah. No, I know. I mean, I'm the same. Like with my original series, with the first series I wrote, like the series is the Starlighters,
Yeah.
because they're basically demigods. Is the easiest way to describe it. And I've got like um book one is Wings of Fire and Fury, because she's
Oh.
basically like a firebird shifter. It's established right at the beginning. She's a
Yeah.
firebird shifter, not a phoenix shifter, a firebird shifter. I thought that was more
Firebird.
fun. She can't actually create fire, but she can create a lot of heat,
Okay.
which is, I just sort of put a twist on it just to make it like a little bit different. But it's. And then the second one, Blades of Ice and Darkness, which is
Oh, that's
another
nice.
character gets the protagonist role. It's multi POV.
Okay.
So the first one we have like one main protagonist, and then the second one we have another main protagonist, and she's got like she has ice magic. She can get visions of the future. She can astral project.
Oh.
So it's like she's got some really fun things going on. And then the next two books are their male love interests get the
Mm.
protagonist role. And I
Right.
can't remember what they called the books after that. I think there's Kingdom of Wrath and Ruin, Empire of Angels and Demons, I wanted to call it, but I did actually change it. But yeah, it's like I said, there's 5 books in total, and they all have these different names, but it's the same structure. And I'm just like, I like those structures, and they work for each book and each
Yeah.
protagonist as well. So yeah, I think and like the same with the Viper's Library. It's like the Viper's Library, the Viper's Cage, the Viper's Warriors.
Oh wow.
So
Okay, yeah.
it's got a structure to the title. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I definitely
Oh,
like that. Um, I
yeah.
totally get what you mean though about like the shifting protagonists, because I so I've obviously got the two sisters, and we focus on Thana for probably the first two books more so. Actually, I can definitely say that because I've got like on my wall up the top there, like all my chapter outlines, and I highlight which like Thana's purple and Callie's blue, and let's just say there's a lot more purple on that wall than there is blue. But when we get into book three, it'll sort of shift on its head as Callie starts to actually come out of her shell a bit and realize not who she is, well, a little bit of who she is, but also just, um, she's very much like got the, oh, there is a psychological term for it, but I think it's like the good girl complex. She has to make everyone happy. She has to like, uh, you know, placate everyone else's emotions, but at her cost to her own. And so sometimes writing her early chapters, it's like, oh my god, just tell them no. Like, stop it. But she slowly starts to break that. Never fully, because that is who she is, but like she starts to break it. Whereas Thana is very much the opposite side. She's very much like, I will come in and like completely destroy all sense of like security you have within yourself and walk away. Like, goodbye. Yeah. But no, I'm juggling
Sounds
multiple.
like characters worth reading.
They're definitely special. Let's just put it that way. Whether that's a good.
Oh,
They're sorry, my phone just had a little bit of a connection. They're definitely special, shall we say?
yeah. It does sound very similar to two of my characters from Starlighters because they've grown up as friends, but they're really,
Oh
really
yeah,
close. And one just
yeah.
kind of does her own thing and is just like, this is me. If you don't like it, go away. And another one is very much like, play by the rules kind of person. And both of them, like, they have their breaking point, and
Mm.
I think this is what I love about writing a 5-book series. You have time for these breaking points to happen, and you're kind of teasing the reader with they're gonna break, they're gonna break, they're gonna break, but you're
Oh
just
yeah,
waiting, stringing them along as to when it's gonna happen, and then it's like boom, and it's like chaos.
definitely. Yeah, I think Callie's had a little bit of. Actually, no, she's definitely had a breaking point. Thana, I don't think has had a true breaking point yet. Like she's had times where she's pretty down, but like I don't know, something about her just makes me think she hasn't actually truly broken yet, which is sounds very maniacal. But anyway, I think that will definitely come up in future. She'll just because when she's definitely such a strong character that when she breaks, it will feel like it will be heartbreaking. I feel like so I think I'm not ready to write it yet. I'm like no. Mm-mm.
I think we have to do it to our characters, otherwise, and as somebody like who reads books where characters like have these little, sometimes they're
Mm.
just mini breaks, but they have to come to
Yeah,
like this kind of pivotal point where it's like, no, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep being this person that everybody expects me to be, and it's like,
yeah.
or I can't keep living this certain way, and it's like, phew, and I love it.
Yep, there's definitely a few of those. But yeah, it's a crazy, crazy world. I'll give it that, but keeps me sane, which is ironic because it's very crazy. But hey, I'm sure you have the same.
Yeah, I was just, that's why I'm laughing. I'm just thinking, yes, yes, exactly. You've got to have some crazy characters losing their, minds, otherwise, otherwise it would cost a lot for therapy.
Oh yeah, well that's just it. I write instead. Just costs me my
Yeah,
sanity, but that's fine.
yeah. Hey, so what other characters do you like to cosplay? I mean, I know because I've seen you.
Yeah.
But who are some of your favorite characters to cosplay?
Ooh, my favorite ones. Um, so definitely, if I start with just mine, it's always Sappy. Sappy's the easiest for me. I don't know why, cause but she just seems to come very naturally. The other ones I do some mass, like SJM ones, but I have tried to like slow them down a bit and let my characters shine through a bit. But I do have fun probably thinking who comes the easiest. I know my Resand gets it. Everyone likes my Resand, but I'm just like, I don't know. He's not my favorite book boyfriend by a long shot, so it's just like, I like playing him, um, but probably the one who I can do the easiest is ironically Aelin from the Throne of Glass series. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Probably because she's very similar to Sappy. Sappy's very similar to her. They've both got a very sassy nature. Otherwise, the other one I really enjoy doing a lot, which is a bit harder for me to do, and that might be why, is Casbreaker from Six of Crows.
Yeah.
He's like, Safi, Aelin, Thana, Rhysand, all those characters have very big actions, so you can kind of mask a little bit behind the action. Whereas Kaz, he doesn't move. Like, he's very, like, within himself, and you're like, damn it, I actually need to, like, try and convey what I'm trying to do with this video through actual acting, which I'm not the greatest at, but I enjoy cosplay.
I love your cosplays. Like, I
Thank you.
truly do.
Thank you.
Like, I did start reading Six of Crows.
Oh
Don't be
yes.
mad at me. I didn't get through it. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I just didn't click with.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I know the character, so I'm familiar enough to think, oh wow, it's really cool. But I tried to do Legend once. It did not work, but I had fun trying. And I've done the was it? Yeah, Scarlet and Tessa. I've done
I've seen
them
those.
as
Yeah,
well.
I've seen yours.
And I
They're really
actually did
good. I like them.
one of them together.
Yeah.
And he was going to throw Legend in as well, but I just thought, no, I'll just leave the sisters. Because, like, one was holding the Caraval book, the other was holding the Legendary book. And I was going to do my Legend holding the finale book, and I was like, alright, let's just leave it at the two sisters.
Yeah, it's I'm not gonna lie, doing like cosplays of male characters when I'm very much female presenting, um, and identifying is tricky. There's always a very feminine, like you've probably seen it with my male characters. Like there's a very feminine twist on them. Like I think probably the most masculine one is Kaz.
But I think that's the fun of it. Like,
Yeah.
putting, like you said, putting the female twist on a character because, like, it's what, work with what you've got, right?
Oh, it's
But
just
that shouldn't stop, that shouldn't stop us trying to play these great, or like cosplay these amazing characters. And, like, I really should try Legend again.
yeah.
And just do it. But I mean, like I said, the Dragma sisters were
Mm.
definitely my favorite. Oh, Lou LeBlanc from Serpents and Dove was one
Oh,
of my favorite cosplays.
this is my turn. I haven't read it.
I recommend it, highly recommend it. The series is wonderful. But yeah, and oh, you have you read you? I've never seen you talk about Zodiac Academy, so I don't think you've read it. Or have you?
No, but I have the first book sitting over there. I finally purchased it because I was like,
This is your sign to read it, Lizzie.
I should read it. Because I've
It's
seen,
but yeah, like Tori is one of my favorite characters, and I don't really need to do much to like I wouldn't really call it cosplay playing her because I just wear a black top and put like the scarlet filter from TikTok and that's it, so it's not
yeah,
technically cosplay, but it's me playing Tori Vega, and I also have a blue wig, and I should be doing Darcy, which is the other twin.
Okay.
And so they are two of my favorite characters. Actually, no, you see, Darcy's okay, but together, together, they're my two favorite duo.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I think, you know, playing them, certainly playing Tori, because she's a really gritty and fierce character, and like, I don't know, she's just, as a character, she's one of the most inspirational characters I've ever read. That probably sounds like really silly.
No, it doesn't.
When people who've read the book and they're like, but you know, she's like this trashy teenager. I'm like, yeah, exactly. And she deals with so much. She faces so much. I mean, it's kind of like, in a way, she kind of reminds me of Aelin. But because Tori grew up in the real world and then got sent to like a Fey realm. A bit like Jude from Cruel Prince. Like, if you imagine like an older version, but like to the extreme. It's got a kind of, you know, like it's bumped up an age category, definitely, because it's like new adult version, but yeah, it's kind of got that similar vibe to it. So yeah, definitely. If you want, you know, like Harry Potter or Cruel Prince on crack, that is Zodiac Academy.
Oh yeah, I as I say, I've got the book over there. I definitely need to read it. I've got several thousand books to read, and I keep just going back to my I'm like, no, I gotta write. But no, I totally get what you mean. What you're saying about Tori, because that's definitely Bryce Quinlan from the Crescent City books. I mean, we can tell. It's very much like I don't even cosplay her as such. It's more just like me filming a funny little video, and then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, just put that. Like I just put on a different necklace for her, really. So I totally get that.
Yeah, sometimes God and I filter. I don't think I've ever cosplayed her. No, I lie. I did once. I was doing a Zodiac Academy and Mass Universe.
Oh wow.
Crossover of, if they couldn't have their respective love interests, who would they choose from the other universe? Like from the other book. It was so funny. Like, I seriously love making those videos. I can't even remember who had who. But I just I did think about it in advance, and some of them were just lazy cosplays, like, you know. But at the same time, I was like, doesn't matter. It's a fun little, you know, thing. Mini skit to do. So, and it was that I always did it to the same sound. I can't remember which sound it was now, but it was one of the trending sounds.
Oh, okay.
And I really enjoyed it. I should do it with a couple of other series.
Well, I mean, that's just it. That's kind of the whole point of like cosplaying, is just enjoying it. It really doesn't matter if you look like the character or not. Not everyone's gonna look the same. That's kind of the whole point. So it's just like, okay, I like this character. I'm gonna try and, you know, evoke her or him, and just having fun with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think which two series or like two authors I can do crossovers for now. I'm thinking, what can I do next?
You could probably do one with your own.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could create a whole Dashfire universe with
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to see who Zelena ends up with from Out of Ashes. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I can see you thinking about it. You're like, oh, who?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think she'd have the patience for any of those characters. They're too prim and proper. She likes, you know, a bit, you know, common. I know that didn't mean that. I mean bookish. Right? book character-wise. I mean, they're like in, you know, like I can't even describe her world. I suppose it's something similar to like a world a bit like The Witcher, but
Oh
not
yeah.
exactly. But that's a kind of, you know, gives some people an idea. It's kind of, you know, that kind of medieval based.
Yeah.
But then I have I and again I have various cultures come into it. Two of the main sort of like, well, we've got the two main characters and then a few other not so main characters, but they're there quite a lot, so they do get a lot of attention. They're kind of I did think of them as kind of like, you know, a kind of Arabian influence
Oh yeah.
in their culture, because I go through Pinterest before, like when I have these ideas of characters, I
Me
go
too.
through Pinterest and I'm like, which ones jumps out as that character? And so there was these, like there were a few that jumped out at me, and they were very much like Arabian influenced. But there was just one that had like this really like cheeky smirk, and it wasn't so much like the character, what they were wearing, what they looked like, or anything. It was the smirk, and I was like, yeah, that's the from the same area of the world. I was like,
Mm,
there we go, it's decided. That's, you know, that's that character. Let's find
totally.
something similar. That um, and the other ones I have, they are like, you know, Far East Asia. I I'm struggling with whether to call what to call their like shifter forms,
Mm.
because in my head they're kitsunes. I don't know if you know what kitsune
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, with the tails, yeah.
yeah.
But I started calling them firefoxes because I didn't want to be like, again, I don't want to have this, you know, preconceived notion of what they are, because they don't all have the same number of tails. But they do have
Right.
multiple tails.
Yeah.
But so I was kind of thinking of more like Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. So I was like, they can either be these really cool, like graceful mythological creatures, or they could be like a cute cartoon video game character.
Yep. Yeah, I get
And
that.
it was really hard, like trying to work out what people would associate with them, but I ended up going with firefoxes
Oh,
in the end, because, you know, that way they have got multiple tails, so yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I get that. I definitely get that. I have a creature in one of the books which is very like I came up with it, but then I was like I don't know what it is, and I did some research, and there is a creature in African mythology that is like to a T this creature, and I was like, I think I actually put a TikTok up about it being like, should I just call you know, this creature, because it's not like it's very fleeting. It's not like one of the main things. Like, should I just call it the same name or should I change it? And everyone's kind of like, oh, you know, if it's something not known, if you will, or it's very like very much that, keep it the same name. Whereas if it was like yours, where it's inspired by, but it's not exactly exactly like the kitsune's, then sort of change the name. I think that's probably the best way to go about it, because it's like you're paying homage where it's like directly sourced from, if you will.
Yeah, I know. It's a
Yeah.
struggle, really.
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah, and I mean, the Viper's Library, pretty much all my characters are shifters,
yeah.
in some form. Some can't fully shift because like their magic has like diminished over time. But pretty much all of them can do some kind of partial shift. Like I have like the second main, like the male characters, the main
Yeah.
male characters, plural in it, are like part dragons,
Oh wow.
and so like their eyes, shift into like slitted eyes, and they cover
Oof.
their skin in scales. There's really cool armor, and of course, like my female main character, of course, she's a viper. She's like part viper, so she can shift her skin into scales too, and her eyes slitted. So they kind of like form this bond through their mutual like reptilian um
Yeah.
traits. And then, we've got, like I said, the firefoxes, scorpions.
Oh wow.
We, yeah, I've gone for I've purposely gone for the non-obvious. Like I could have gone for werewolves, but
Yeah.
thought like, no, let's go for kitsunes. But of course, I call them firefoxes because they don't all have like 9 tails or 7 tails. 9 tails, I think.
I feel like it's nine.
Yeah, I know it sounded right when I said it. Um, yeah, scorpion shifters. What are the other ones I have? We have harpies and a few others that don't get much attention, but they're mentioned as in existing.
Mm.
Oh yes, the leviathans.
Oh yeah. They're always good.
Like everybody, like it's either dragons or sea serpents, and people forget about the leviathans. Like so yeah, I've got a few of those in. So
Yeah.
yeah, and there's going to be lots of wings and lots of scaly things and lots of
Yes.
fire and elemental magic.
Oh wow.
Because in case you hadn't noticed, I love elemental magic.
Yeah. No. 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 Fair enough. It's. I like it too. I've got elements. Elements of elemental. Um. Because like like, my magic system's a little bit different. So, um, like for example, Dana wears a necklace which everyone thinks is ruby, which this real one is like ruby, but everyone thinks is ruby, but it's actually not. But each of the minerals has has certain powers attached to it. Um, so not everyone can just pick up a stone and suddenly have power. You still have to have a certain lineage and that sort of thing. But then a lot of people can draw from those minerals. Um, so yeah, that's how that comes into play. But um, the elemental magic comes in with the gods when they were creating, which is then how the minerals have their power. So definitely an element of elements.
Nice. It's funny you're talking about the gems and the minerals and stuff because one of they're going to be individual standalones, but
Mm,
it's going to be like a consecutive series.
right.
It's called Elemental Storm, and it literally is about gems with magical elements. And how like people are trying to mine these elements and the dangers of mining the elements. But it's a steampunk because they use
Oof.
these stones in like machines and like for example they'll put like a lightning stone in instead of a lamp, and that will just they use brass to
Oh wow.
activate it and deactivate it. They use air stones to power the airships and make
Oh
the
wow.
airships move. And yeah, so, as far as elements go, I mean, it's a different way as opposed to elemental magic.
Yeah,
It's more like
yeah.
elemental energy. But yeah, it's very much a steampunk. And they've got it's all about like the general story is all about freeing like people from like the slavers that run the mines, and they just steal people in the middle of the night and stuff. I know these freedom fighters are trying to get people out, and it's
Oh my gosh.
it's going to
That
be at least
sounds cool.
2026 when that comes out. The rate I'm going. Oh, I've got so
Fair
many
enough.
projects. It's crazy.
Oh
But
well.
yeah.
No, no, that's good. It's good to have multiple projects. I probably suffer from not having multiple projects because I'm very much in the one world, if you will.
Yeah, but I think it, like people have these different ways of writing, different ways of
Mm,
focusing on their different projects. So, if that's what works, like I see people talking about, oh, they've taken, years to write, a trilogy because they were changing it so much, they were so immersed in it, and they were so obsessed with it, and they kept changing it, and other things got in the way, and
yeah.
it took me like 5 years to actually sit down and think, right, come on, you've got to decide what you're going to write and what you're going to publish and how you're going to publish it. Come on, so it
Fair
was
enough.
one of these that I had to have about. I had to write, and I think one of the things that was really great about that was it got me into like different multiple projects, learning what I wanted, what kind of style I wanted to write in, and the
Mm,
fact that I don't want to write in just one style.
yeah.
Because Out of Ashes is very much, obviously Claire is from a like an upper class background, but she has mingled with what she would call lower class.
Yeah.
So, but she's still she speaks very proper. She thinks very proper. The narration is very much in line with a Victorian
Yeah.
era book.
Yeah.
Um, but the Viper's Library is kind of like snappy thoughts and a bit grittier in the narration because that's the kind of characters that they are and that's the kind of
Yeah.
world that they're in. So yeah, I think that was one of the fun things about writing different books before I decided what I wanted to publish, because that way I could just
Enjoy.
find my multiple voices as a writer.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. I as I say have the multiple POVs, so there's people who are from the world who have a voice, and then there's obviously Thana and Callie who are not from the world who have their voice. And sometimes realizing what one knows but one doesn't, like, if you grew up in the world, you'd know something different versus people who don't, didn't grow up there. It's like, oh, okay. And then, as you say, Dana and Callie obviously will be very similar because they're sisters. They've had a similar upbringing. But then you've got the love interest for Thana, Damon, who's grown up very rough in many ways. So he's a little bit more, uh, shall we say, quick to the uncouth, if that will make sense. He's still got an air of, shall we say, like, because he grew up around the palace, so he still kind of will shift to be a little bit more in that, as if we're calling it upper class, but you can kind of see where he's a little bit grittier, if you will. And then the other POV we have I'm just thinking the first two books is Cass, who's one of the wing leaders, and she's under Safi in the army, but she sort of taught Safi in many ways, so she's very proper. But she's very proper, even though their entire I don't know whether to call it a species because they're sort of like they're also sort of shifters, but they're a subsect of shifters, so it's kind of like not human, but still very humanoid. um, but yeah, they're very much like they were almost the direct descendants of the gods, but then because of the world that it has evolved into, they are not seen that way. So they still kind of have this very proper way of speaking, but then let's just say the way they speak doesn't necessarily match where they are, if that makes sense. So they kind of, it's weird. It was weird writing from her perspective for the first time because she's the first one who's like not just. I mean, they're all adults. Like my main character's 25, but she she has been around for a lot longer than the rest of them. So she's got a very old voice compared to Damon, Damon's I think about 30. Um, he's got a much younger voice in comparison. It's just funny seeing those two on page.
Yeah, I think this is why both, like, I love seeing certainly older characters, but I love seeing a kind of balance in like their aging, not their age, but the way they age.
Yeah.
He's like 19-year-olds dating like 200, 500-year-old men. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that. So it's like 1,000-year-old dating a 200-year-old. Come on, that's better, right?
Well, yeah. I think
like,
I'm just thinking who the biggest age gap is. It's probably going to end up being about. It's still going to be decent, as in a couple decades, but it's not a couple hundred years. Let's put it that way. Um, there's definitely characters who are a couple hundred years old who have an interest, but their interest isn't necessarily like a genuine romantic interest. Like it's all about using more so, and like um, there's one character. He's got to be in the 300s, I think, but or even 400s, and he will show a romantic interest, but he's not showing a romantic interest because he's actually interested. He's just trying to manipulate the situation. Because yeah, the concept to me of like, I'm not gonna lie, like a 500-year-old, whatever, feel like being like, oh yes, you're 19, you know, you're the love of my life. It just, I don't know, it never quite sat right with me. Because I'm like, I mean, my parents have a big age gap, so I know age gaps will work, absolutely. But that's too much of an age gap. you know? But yeah, no, I think the funniest one actually, now that I think about it, is I've got a character named Leela, and her culture's very much like, if I had to think of an equivalent, they're very much like the hobbits of this world, if you will. Um, but not quite. They're slightly different, but they're very heavily inspired by Maori culture. So they're very fierce people.
okay, cool.
Um, but because of the way they age, so they're like, I think it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So like 3 of their years is like the equivalent of 1 human year. So she presents to everyone, and like as you meet her in the first couple books, she presents very young, like as if she's like this 13-year-old girl. That's how everyone views her. In reality, like if we're talking human years, she's about 25. But it's interesting because I wrote from her point of view, and her internal voice is a lot older than she may necessarily present. Like she still has those very girlish elements because she still is a girl in her culture and everything. She's still very much young, but you can start to see how she's growing up, and it's also a little bit of like, how different characters perceive others around them. So she kind of is like, she's an interesting one because she still has that very girlish voice, but you can see after certain events she's starting to grow up, and it's like, oh my gosh, no, you were like an innocent little baby. Don't do this. But unfortunately, it always happens.
Yeah, I think I have a young girl in my book, The Viper's Library.
Yeah.
She's 9, almost 10. That's something she has to emphasize.
Okay. Almost 10.
Yeah, and I kind of very loosely based her on one of my students I mean, this student's only 8, but I made this one a little bit older.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes I'll just, we'll be trying to get on with the class, and one of my little students, she like as well, little, she's not that little, she just comes out with these random things, and she always comes up to me like, every couple of weeks she'll give me a hug for no reason, and I was
Oh.
thinking like, what's this for? She's like, just because you're my teacher and I like you. And I'm
Oh.
like, okay, fair enough. It's like I kind of took some of her little like quirky, you know, I'm so sweet I can get away with everything kind
Yeah.
of traits, and I put them into this little girl who basically becomes my main character's best friend, even though my main character is 1,000 years old, and this girl is almost 10. And I think because like I said, I this student just inspired me so much with
Mm.
her character, like her personality. I was like, I have to use this for the basis of a character. Obviously, I've embellished and stuff because it's a fantasy and there are other
Yeah.
things going on. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have this be a thing because I just have to. Like she
Oh,
deserves,
yeah.
and she's just like a really fun kid. So I was like, why not? But yeah, I mean, like going back to like the 19-year-old and 500-year-old, I think like because it's fantasy, it's just like, I mean, yeah, as humans in the real world, it's a bit
Yeah.
icky. But I think if you put your fantasy brain on, it's like, well, it's fantasy. That's the whole point. Nothing
Oh.
makes sense really, and it's you know like yeah, it's kind of just forget it. Just it's fantasy. Just tell your brain it's fantasy and it's fine.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you mean. And there are some couples that I'm like, oh yeah, that does actually really work. Um, but yeah, I guess it was more just the concept that like, at least for me with Akudama, they're all like all the, shall we say, older individuals are very bitter and twisted in many ways. I don't know why, but they just happen to be like that. So just the concept of like who they like would be attracted to, it just doesn't make sense for them to be the main character. That being said, now that I think about it, actually no, there might be one, but that's for a completely different reason. Like again, it's still there's always that element of um because they've been around for so long that they've kind of lost their touch with, not to say they were human, but like humanity, if you will. Um,
Yeah.
and so, like, even though they may have the best intentions, it's not necessarily coming from the right mindset, if you will. But yeah, it's, it's just one of those things. You're definitely right. Just take the fantasy brain, all like sort of, real world things, just fantasy.
Yeah. I think this is one of the things that, I mean, for me, it's one of the reasons why I love writing fantasy, in that you can just turn real life on its head
Oh yeah.
and you get away with it because
Yeah.
it's all made up. Nothing's real. So that's how I excuse my writing behavior.
Oh boy, you haven't read mine yet.
Yeah. And like you think of like how many ways can I kill off this character? If you were talking about something like that in real life, people would be like, "What?" Like looking at looking at my Google search, but yeah,
Yeah, you just reminded me the other day. So, I had sent like the new stuff to my, oh, this might have been a couple weeks ago, but I sent it all to my best friend. She'd read it. And again, as I say, she's got that list of like characters I'm not allowed to kill off. Gave her new characters. She's adding all of them to the list, right? And so she sent me a Snapchat basically being like, you can't kill off that, you can't kill off that, you can't kill off that. And I opened it whilst I was walking down Martin Place. Now, to give you a premise, Martin Place is like in the heart of the city. There are a lot of business people, a lot of people just in general. I work at the end of, like, my office building's at the end of it. And I was listening to her and I was like, oh my god, again. And so I just pulled up Snapchat as I'm walking down the middle of the street and just went, I can kill off who I want to kill off, and sent it to her. But I didn't realize I'd said that, and obviously because it's loud, because there's a lot of people, I'd said it relatively loudly, and everyone, like, I had a few looks, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna walk to my bus, like, don't look at me. So yes, I definitely know what you mean. There's definitely... I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, it's like things you can get away with as a fantasy author or a fantasy writer. It's like, you know, if anybody saw the kind of searches I did, they'd be like, what? And then it's like, I wrote fantasy. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Bye. Yeah, makes
just
sense
kind
now.
of makes everything alright, doesn't it?
And you know, yeah, it's the fantasy brain. It comes from both ends, the readers and the authors, because you know, like we have to come up with this stuff. We have to think like this stuff comes from in here, and it has to be a kind of strange and crazy thing going on in here to come up with a whole entire world.
Oh,
I mean, like, you know, Caraval. What kind of trip was she on when she came up with the character?
yeah, I definitely agree with that one. There's one scene where we meet these creatures, called, like, it's not really a big spoiler, so they're called spinlings, and they're very much inspired by the other mother in Coraline, if you know what that's like. But basically, they're effectively spiders, but they're massive and they're kind of human on top, and they're absolutely terrifying. Like, and the scene with it, I wrote it and I was like, Jesus, okay, like that's intense. And then, as I say, my best friend read it and she came back and she was like, what? Are you okay? What was that? And I'm like, what? And she's like, that is the most terrifying stuff I've ever read. Like, no, not okay. It's like, it's not that terrifying. She's like, it is for me. I was like, okay, sorry. Sorry.
No, that's obviously the sign of, you know, a good imagination, and that's what you need to be a fantasy writer. So, yeah. I mean, that's exactly how my first book and all my books start with, like, crazy dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the Vipers. I mean, there's one scene, well, the one scene that started me writing Out of Ashes. Obviously, I can't, like, I don't want to say it, you know, for spoiler reasons, but it was, you know, like, quite a horrific scene, and I dreamt it. And, like, I dreamt every single horrible moment of that to the point, and, like, even the people that I saw in, like, watching this horrible thing happen to my character. I was like, I dreamt that. And I was like, no, do you know what? This is a sign to write the book. And of course, I had to write everything leading up to that point.
Yeah.
And then everything after, because it comes in about 3/4 of the way through the book.
Oh, jeez.
No, or later. I can't remember exactly what point, but it's like in the latter parts of the book. And, like, you know, so my character Claire has to go through a whole bunch of other things to get to that point, but I knew exactly how she got there. I knew how she got there. So I was like, okay, I've got to write all of this to that point, and then I know exactly what I'm going to do with it after.
Oh my god.
So yeah, and that was like, okay, that dream prompted me to write that book. I already had the story somewhere in my head, but it, like,
Yeah.
that dream brought it to, like, everything to the surface from the beginning to that point, and then everything after. And same with The Starlight is the first book I wrote, or first series I wrote, and same with the Viper's Library.
Mm.
Yeah, dreaming about feeding off somebody's neck and drinking their blood. I was like, what?
Oh,
I
God.
woke up and was like, what? What is this? What did I drink last night?
Yep. Yeah, I know. I've had a few of
But
those.
yeah, it led to the Viper's Library because she's part Viper, but she's also like a vampire
Oh,
because
wow.
she's from a vampire line and like a serpent line, and the person who turned her was like the daughter of like the god of vampires and the god of serpents. So she passed on two like pretty crazy traits onto Zelenka when she turned her, which
Yeah,
is like
wow.
right at the beginning. So yeah, and it was
Damn.
yeah, dreaming that you've got fangs, like really long fangs, is strange.
It's alright. I totally
You
get
either
it. Don't worry.
yeah,
Don't worry.
you either read too much fantasy, watch too much fantasy, play video games. Like currently in the middle of Final Fantasy 16, which is very much sort of akin to the Witcher
Oh,
game.
yeah.
The previous games are very different, but this one gives me Witcher vibes. But it is like it's like being in one of my favorite fantasy stories. And so this is why I love, I've been playing it for like 7 weeks and I've still not finished.
That's fair enough. I totally get that.
You know, like I'm not a gamer by any means, but like once in a while, like a couple of times a year when I have the time off work, because I don't work in August and the beginning of September, that's my video game time.
Yeah, fair
Just
enough.
so yeah, it's very much in my head at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. No.
So what are you reading at the moment, or what books have you read recently?
What am I reading at the moment? I've forgotten that. I am halfway through The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Because I've never read
Somewhere I
it.
can't. Yeah, is there?
No, I've never read it, so yeah. Um, but I know there's like a big plot twist like thing. So I'm just like I just want to know what that is. Pardon me. And then the other one is God Killer. I'm just seeing who wrote it. Hannah. Hang on. Canna, I think it is. Kner. Um, which that one's another interesting one because that's a new concept. But I think the last full book I read was probably like everyone else, Fourth Wing, because I needed dragons. Needed to know what happened. Everyone was talking about it.
I know. I kept seeing it, and I was like, no, not gonna read it. Not gonna read it. Not gonna read it. Oh, fine, okay, I'll read it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I was like forced to read it. Like it looked really good. I
Yeah.
genuinely liked the idea of it, but I was like, just because it's everywhere, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna be a rebel and not read it like everybody else. I'm not gonna be a sheep. And then I was like, there I was going, there.
Yeah,
I
no,
think,
I'm very much like that because I'm like, oh, you just kind of, you're like, well, if they like it and they like the one, what I've the same books I like, then you're like, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. But the two that I want to read, which I have both, but I've just kind of, I've literally finished my final exam on Tuesday, so I'm still kind of coming out of study mode. But is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole, and
yeah.
where is it? The Jitsahad Air. Wow, I can't speak. Jitsahad Air by Sarah Hashan. That one.
Yes. I've seen that somebody I know had
Yeah.
the arc for it. Um And then I've seen the assistant to the villain like since last year, and her doing the skit and then
Yeah.
getting the contracts and everything. That was. I haven't got to actually get the book yet because I have like 4 arcs to get through. 2 of them have already come out. I say to get through, but like it sounds like a chore. It's not. I want to read them,
Yeah.
but I want to read them like now.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
brain is just a bit fried at the moment. I've just gone back to work
Oh,
like
okay.
2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's been a crazy time, and like just other lifey things. Poorly cat, who is just she's fine now, but yeah, it's
Okay,
like
that's
when
good.
you have a poorly cat, it's stressful. So things are evening out now, and I'm getting back into the arcs again. 2 of them have already come out, so I'm a bit late, but it's okay. You know,
Yeah.
I will post my review. I'll get the review. So,
I think I've got one arc at the moment, but that comes out in October, which means that I probably should actually just finish the damn thing. Um, but for some reason, I don't know, I think it's because I'm not very much I'm very much a physical book reader, not an online reader. So sometimes reading arcs is really difficult for me because it's like, I can't, I just, for some reason, once it's on my phone, I'm like, nah, it's not, like, I don't have to actually read it in my mind. I don't know why. I don't know why. But for some reason, and then suddenly I'm like, oh no, I do actually, because I said I would, so let's go.
yeah.
I don't know, it's just me.
I usually when I've got the EPUBs of files of it, I have it on my phone, and I get my FB reader to read it aloud while I'm driving. And so, I mean, the voice is so. It's not
Yeah,
great, but it works, and it saves so much time. So I can like listen to it while I drive, and then like when I get home, I can sit down with it properly,
mm,
and like on my tablet, and my tablet will synchronize to where I was up to reading it on my phone, and so it just like means I can consume more of it. And
yeah,
yeah, no, I've had my tablet for about a year now. I would never get a Kindle because I just like I need apps on a
yeah,
tablet as well. And I know Kindles are a bit like I know the screen is really good for reading,
mm,
and I was gonna get my mum a Kindle a couple of years ago, but she said no, she preferred a tablet because it made sense to have all the other stuff. But if somebody gave me a Kindle, I'd be like, oh my god, yay! But it's just
yeah.
I got a tablet with my internet service provider, so I was like, okay, well I'm not even paying for it, so I'm gonna have
Fair
the
enough, fair
tablet
enough.
so I can
Yeah,
read on the decent screen now.
yeah. I think that's probably it, is that it's just my phone, so it's like small. I don't know. I don't know. I think I also just like the feeling of a physical book because I can physically look at my progress and be like, yes, I am that far along.
Yeah, I mean, I recently had a few people, a couple of authors, send me a copy of their book.
Mm.
One was A Contract of Love and a Contract with Love by Akaku Red, and it was like if you can imagine Dynasty in a book duology, it
Oh
was
wow.
awesome. It was amazing, and like I just love the corporate shenanigans and the family drama, and like falsely accused of murder. It was fantastic. And the other one, like I didn't even know it was coming until I got a message from the author saying, "Oh, can you give me your address so I can send you this book?" And I'm like, "Wait, what? Oh,
Of
okay."
course.
And that was Little Hell on the Prairie by Grace
Oh
Merchandani. I don't know if you've seen like a few of my recent videos. Like
yeah.
I've got her other book, Searching for Sadie, which is like a contemporary romance. I've got Touch Me, See Me, Feel Me, Hear Me, which is about a girl who's lost her voice in an accident, lost her parents and her voice in an accident, and now she sees ghosts, and the only
Oh
people
wow.
she can actually like communicate with is ghosts, because like she can mentally communicate with them. So it's a really interesting story. But yeah, it's really good. It's YA, which I do read quite a bit of. So yeah, it was really good.
Okay, yeah, that sounds very cool.
Yeah, and it's just nice to receive like signed copies of
Yeah.
books and goodies and stuff. I was like, oh my god, it's
Oh
so
yeah.
exciting.
Yes. Well, that was like when I got your book, and it was like, okay. That was very exciting. Very,
You
very
know, I
exciting.
think I only sent three of them out. I really need to send some more. And once the Vipers Library comes out, I will be sending a few of those out too. So yeah, I've just been really lazy. Like I have it in my head of doing like the Amazon wish list because that's actually easier because I
Mm.
can like somebody can just add it to their wish list. I can go to them and like it's just like the payment for delivery is minimal, whatever their delivery is in their country. I don't have to pay for the international delivery and
Oh
everything.
yeah.
But then it's not signed and they don't get the goodies with it.
Yeah.
But I just thought, well, sometimes you've just got to go for the cheaper option.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's very true. Ah, well.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have much plan? Oh no, it's what time? Like 11:30 over there, is it?
Yeah, it is 11:30. But yeah, like I'm such a late owl. Like even during the week when I have to work because I work afternoons and evenings, so
Hmm.
I don't get home until after 9 o'clock.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so for me this is like even on a weekday, I'm like buzzing at this time. Like house. Oh well, I'm just winding down at this time,
Yeah.
and at the weekend, it's just like watching a movie or making TikTok videos. Saturday night seems to be like my TikTok like night.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I know, and I'm like, yeah, this is what happens when you get to my age.
Don't worry, don't worry. I get it. It's definitely, yeah. As I say, it's now like, because I've hopefully finished that postgrad now, it's like, oh my God. So you mean I don't have to like race between doing this and then doing that and then doing this? And it's like, oh, okay, this is weird. I don't know if I like this. It's like I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So, it's a strange. Like, I mean, I know you're on the southern hemisphere, so
Yeah.
your seasons are all different, like the opposite to ours. But when does the academic year start over there?
Uh, End of Jan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
mum.
this is more or less like an early finish for the academic year.
Oh no, they'll go up until December. Um, so mum's a high school teacher, so they just started school holidays. Like on like Saturday was the first day, right? So they'll be off for 2 weeks, and then they'll go back for term four. Um, and then they'll finish up. Yeah, December. Four
Four
terms.
terms. We only have three.
Oh no, we have four. So I think the first one's like 10 weeks. No, that must be like 11 weeks. The second one's like nine. Third one's like another 11 one, and term four is again like 9 or 10. So yeah, and then
You
they
don't
get
get
eight.
a long break for winter,
Not
like
for
your
winter, for
winter.
summer. So our summer's
No,
December, January.
yeah, no, yeah, that's why I was referring
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like, as in
No, no.
my summer, yeah.
Yeah.
No, because we get like 2 and a bit weeks off for Christmas, and then in our summer, which we've just gone back like 2 weeks ago. The
Mm.
kid, well, in the UK we have about 6 weeks off over summer, but here in Spain they have 2 months.
Oh wow.
No, almost 3 months. It's crazy how long they have off for summer. They finish at the end of June and they go back the middle of September. So
Damn.
that's almost 3 months. It's crazy.
Wow.
But I do summer camp in July, so I get August and the first part of September off. I get 6 weeks off, which is it's
Still
such
nice.
a long time. Everybody thinks how it's amazing you get summers off. I'm like, yeah, you get summers off, and then I'm working almost solid the rest of the year, and I
Yeah.
don't really get a break the rest of the year. I would rather split it, or at least take 2 weeks and have it off somewhere else, because it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. I guess I'm probably the wrong person to ask because accounting, or the corporate world, if you will, is very much you work all year except you may get 1 to 2 weeks off over Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I did used to work in offices back in the UK, so I was, very
Yeah.
much in the mindset of like we have to request holidays off,
Yeah.
and that was when we got the holidays. And nowhere I worked closed for Christmas. I think some of them, like, they did close like the few days after Christmas, but right after New Year we were back in
Yeah.
work, and it was like, oh my god, like getting up that early in winter. I forgot what it's like, because now, like I said, I work afternoons and evenings,
Hmm.
so getting like in winter, I don't get up early, and it's fantastic. So I don't have to deal with the cold mornings. Maybe one week when we do the Christmas camp for 1 week,
Hmm.
and oh, sorry.
Bless you.
and then that's it. Like as far as every day goes. But yeah, because I'm such a night owl. It's just more convenient. I have my mornings to write
Oh yeah.
and do, all like my marketing videos, and I practically live either staring at Word on my computer or
Yeah.
at CapCut on Canva on my phone.
I know the feeling, don't worry.
That's my life right now. So yeah. Yeah, I know. I think one of the things about writing is, like, because I don't work really long hours. Like, I work normal hours,
Hmm.
not long hours. So I'm lucky in that I have my mornings to get on with writing. Like, I could not do this if I had like a full time, like, long hour job. I couldn't do it. I
Hmm.
did have a long hour job for like a year, literally a year. It sounds like, wait, you had, a year? That's nothing. I mean, I've been working 60-hour weeks for years, and I'm just like, I can't do that.
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
like. So yeah, this is why I love teaching so much, because it's certain pockets of hours in the day, and the rest of the day, I can write in the mornings, and it's easy going.
Hmm. Fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very, or my role, shall we say, is very much like if you wanted to do a 60-hour week, you probably could. Um, but yeah, it's very much you work when the work's there and you don't when it's not, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you find time to write?
I usually write on the train going into work in the morning. Like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Or, um, if I'm really into it, then I'll uh re it like edit and slash write at night before I go to sleep. But basically, whenever I can, it's the crux of it. There's very barely times where I get to sit down and be like, right, I'm going to write now. It's more like in between a whole lot of other things,
Yeah.
which is probably why
Yeah,
it's taking so long.
yeah. When I first started writing, I was working longer hours than I am now, and so yeah, trying to find the time to fit it in was like really difficult. So I can't even imagine. Like I don't get how people can work like all day and still find time for writing. It's like, but somebody said you don't find time for. Somebody actually said it about reading, but it can apply to writing. You
Mm.
don't find time for reading, you make time for
Yes,
reading.
that
You
is.
just pull these pockets out of, all the in between things, like you said, and just, make the most of every minute you can doing it.
Oh yeah, that's very much me. That's why on the train, which is great because I've got a work laptop and my actual laptop, so people at work think I'm very funny when I'm like, I go take my bag, like for, you go take your bag or something. I'm like, oh, let me just take my laptop out. They're like, but your laptop's on your desk. I'm like, no, 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 no. The other laptop. They're like, you carrying around two laptops? I'm like, yes. And they're like, why? I'm like, I gotta write. They're like, what the? Okay. It's strength training. That's how I see it anyway.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of these people that like after lunch I have a little pocket of time right before I go to work, and I can either sit and just watch a TV show for 20 minutes, or I can sit at my desk with my coffee before I go to work and do some writing. It's literally 20 minutes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I will be at my desk in that time, no matter what I've done in the morning, even if I've already done like an hour or so of writing in the morning already, that pocket of time is always at my desk writing because, I have to make the most of every minute. I actually get more done in 20 minutes than I do if I've got like an hour at my desk. Because the idea of
Yeah, I think
like,
it's the
you've
time
only
crunch
got this
element.
much time, you've got to make the most of it. That's it. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
Oh,
I'm doing the final
oh,
formatting for the Viper's library now. Like
oh
it's
yeah.
done, but there's just some tweaks to make, and I want everything to be perfect. Even for the arcs, I want them to be, perfect. So I'm doing those at the moment because I've got 1 week before they go out, and I'm making the most of every single minute.
Very exciting.
Otherwise, yeah, otherwise if it goes out and it's not, if it's not ready by next Sunday, then I'm going to be like, I'm really sorry, I was going to be a bit late, but I'm like, no, wait, like, I'm there, like, I'm this close now, and it's really just the formatting
Oh,
because
you can do
oh
it.
my god, trying to format books myself, it's a good thing. I have graphic design experience and admin experience using like Microsoft Word and design experience using Photoshop. It's not that great, but at least I can do it. And oh my god, it's so stressful. But I love it. Like I thrive off this.
Yeah,
Like
fair
job
enough.
stress is hard. Writing stress is me. It's all on me, but it's
Mm.
me making me do it. Like if it
Yeah,
doesn't get done, I'm not going to lose my job. So
yeah. I think that's definitely part of it. Is like, okay, it's just what I'm doing.
yeah, I think this is one of the joys about self-publishing as well. Like, I mean, you're not like completely your own boss in a sense, but like you set your own deadlines, and so you can be realistic about what you can do within the specific time you've allocated. And like,
Yeah.
I gave myself a real, like, I could have published this like 2 3 months ago, but I gave myself a really nice cushion of time
Mm.
so I could get everything done at my pace, and I didn't have to rush everything over the summer, or spring rather. So I had the summer to work on it and really smooth out any creases in the story and work on like two covers because I decided I changed my mind with the second cover.
Oh well, you're allowed to change your mind. It's your book.
I know, I know. This is but yeah, like I was messaging my graphic design friend saying, I need to change the cover, this is what I've got so far. And like I sent him like, 10 different versions of what was basically the same cover. And he was like, yeah, like it's really good. This, tweak this and smooth out this edge and fix that, thing. Because there were things from the, that just like, I don't know. And I did it like in 2 days.
Oh well.
And I was
No,
like,
don't.
because the cover just was not coming to me. With Out of Ashes, it was like instant in my head what cover I wanted for myself. And then suddenly, with this book, I was like, I don't know what I want to do with this. Don't ask me.
Fair
So,
enough. Yeah, no, I
it's
have
like,
no idea what my cover would look like. Absolutely none, which is not helpful because I'm not very good at drawing either. So that's if I decide to self-publish, that's going to be a fun time.
I mean, I think you can get covers from these websites where, and I've seen, like really good recommendations from like self-published and indie authors. I think it costs something like between 35 and 50 like euros, dollars, pounds. I don't know what that translates to Australian dollars. Um, and they will do like so many revisions and so many they'll do like the ebook,
Oh
the
yeah.
physical book, the paperback, the hardback copy for you. And if you're going with Ignorant Spark, they'll match it to their standards for the size of the book. And if you're going with like KDP, they do that as well. And so, I mean, when at the moment I'm with KDP and Barnes and Noble, and when you upload it, like you can upload it, and they give you the templates
Mm.
to match to your, the images that you've got, so you can move things over and make things bigger and smaller to center and everything. So they do make it really easy for you. So in that sense, it's really helpful. And with KDP, they actually have an image creator, a cover creator. So yeah, but I didn't use it. I used Photoshop to
Oh
do
yeah.
both covers. With the first one, my friend actually helped me out with, I put like the pieces on there, and he made them work. Because I was like,
Fair enough.
they're there, but there's just, he's like, it's okay, I'll do it, I'll finish it off. I know, like, so yeah, like, especially with the fire and the embers on Out of
Oh yeah.
Ashes, it was.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But this
No.
one was like the Viper's Library. I did it myself, and he was just like, okay, yeah, like tweak this, tweak that, and I did it on myself. And next thing I know, he's like, "Oh, that's perfect." So I was like, "Yes, I know, thank you."
Fair enough.
And I think being able to design your own cover is like pretty fun,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. If it ever gets to a stage where I'm self-publishing, that's probably going to be the bit that's going to take the longest, in the sense that it will take me a minute to actually come up with the concept. Once I have the concept, it will be fine, but like before that, it'll just be, you know, all over the shop. If that makes sense. Like, I'm just gonna be like, I have no idea where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I mean, that was very much like, me with the Viper's Library. It took me forever to work out what I wanted to do with this cover. Like I said, I changed my mind. And so, I was just like, okay, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm definitely glad I put the time into the second cover, because I do definitely prefer it. Now, I think having a character on there just makes it pop and
Yeah.
just makes it more fun. And, you know, character, like, she's really cool. She deserves some attention on the cover. So.
Fair enough. Oh, I'm going to have to be rude and say, um, I'll go head off because I got to take my grandmother shopping today.
No, no, it's
Um,
absolutely fine. I was just thinking, yeah, we've talked for a good while now. It's a good time to
yeah, I
finish.
know.
But you know, thank you so much, and
No
thank you for
worries.
letting me join your live because that was,
Well,
you know, not the whole point of it.
I'm just glad we
But
figured it out because I was like, I know there's a way to do it. I just don't know how to do it.
yeah, I'm gonna have to work out this in.
That's all right. We can.
Sorry, I just looked at the comment about the way to make Vegemite toast.
Oh, oh, I haven't even seen the comments. What's the proper way to make
Yeah,
Vegemite toast? I
we
don't know. I don't
we
eat Vegemite. I think it's a thin layer of butter, a thin layer of butter and a thin layer of Vegemite. Don't use a lot because otherwise you won't be,
we get a very similar thing in the UK. So yeah, I would say that's that's the other thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but but yeah, I've never actually had Vegemite, but I know people say that our version, what is it called?
Marmite.
Marmite, yes, that's it. Oh my god. I've not lived in the UK for 14 years and I forget things. It's
Oh,
terrible.
no, no, we can get it over here. That's why I know it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, you get on with your day and enjoy your day.
Thank
And I
you.
will probably be making TikToks for at least another hour. But
All
yeah,
right.
it was really nice to chat with you and thank you so much. My first official interview.
Thank you for having me. I mean, it was,
Oh, no
yeah, like
problem.
it was, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, I think once I'm like at the stage where I'm happy with the book, I'm probably gonna reach out to you and be like, "Hey, do you want to read
Yes,
it?"
yes, I will. Yes. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Okay, well, you enjoy your day and thank you.
Yeah. All right. See ya. Bye.